Let's get right into it. We all know flying has completely changed our world, right? From business trips to seeing family on the other side of the globe. But all that convenience, well, it comes with a pretty big environmental price tag. So the question is, what can we actually do about it?
So, this is the core question we're going to dig into. Can we really find a balance between our need or want to fly and the urgent reality of climate change? To really get a grip on this, we've got to start with the numbers. So, you look at the globe, and right now, aviation is responsible for about 2.5% of all CO2 emissions. But, and this is a big but, that number doesn't even tell the whole story.
That's because when you factor in all the other stuff planes release high up in the atmosphere, things like water vapor and nitrogen oxides, the total climate impact actually jumps to around 3.5%. So the key takeaway here? The problem is quite a bit bigger than it looks on the surface.
And this brings us right to the heart of the dilemma. Even with planes getting more and more fuel efficient, which they are, the sheer growth and how much we're all flying means emissions are still climbing. If we don't make some major changes, they're on a path to literally triple by 2050.
I think this quote just nails the tension we all feel. It says, aviation is a central pillar of modern life, which it is, but it comes with that significant environmental cost. So, where do we even begin to look for solutions?
Well, naturally, our eyes turn to technology. Is it possible that innovation alone can solve this whole problem for us? Let's start with the one thing that powers pretty much every flight you've ever been on, the fuel.
You know, jet fuel has actually been on a quiet little journey of its own. If you go back to the 70s, it was a pretty simple distillation process, which left in more impurities. But over the years, refining got a lot more advanced, making the fuel cleaner. These were small, incremental steps for sure, but they were important, and they really paved the way for the next big thing.
And that next big thing is sustainable aviation fuels, or SAFs. Now, these are basically drop-in replacements for traditional jet fuel, but they're made from things like used cooking oil or even waste from farms. Don't worry about all the acronyms you see. They're just different recipes, different ways to create these much cleaner fuels.
Now, here's the number that gets everybody's attention. SAFs can slash life cycle CO2 emissions by up to 80%. I mean, that is a huge, huge leap. But it's not the only tech being worked on. Okay, so let's compare the two main contenders in this race. You've got SAFs, which are ready to go right now. You can literally blend them with existing fuel. The big challenge is just making enough of it to bring the cost down. Then you have hydrogen. It's the dream, a true zero-emission fuel. But it's much further off in the future. We'd need totally new planes and brand new airport infrastructure to store it at a mind-boggling minus 253 degrees Celsius.
And yeah, the hurdles for hydrogen are pretty serious. You have amazing projects like Airbus's Zero E making real progress. But just look at the numbers. Out of 97 million tons of hydrogen made in 2023, less than 1% of it was the green kind we actually need. So while it's definitely the long-term vision, it's just not going to be a quick fix.
All of this brings us back to that fundamental question. If the technology is still on its way, why don't we all just fly less? Well, as you can probably guess, the answer is incredibly complicated. This quote really gets to the human side of the problem. You see, what one person calls a non-essential trip, another person relies on for their entire livelihood. The idea of essential travel is really subjective, and it's all tangled up in our global economy.
Let's just take one very real example. Look at Cambodia. In 2019, tourism accounted for a massive 25% of its entire country's GDP, a quarter of their economy. For places like this, telling them to just cut flights isn't an environmental debate, it's an economic catastrophe.
And it's not just about tourism or business deals. Aviation is the physical backbone for diplomacy, for getting humanitarian aid to where it needs to go, for global cooperation. If we limit our ability to connect, we risk a lot more than just our economies. So if stopping isn't the answer, how do we make smarter choices? This is where some new policies are starting to come into play, and they're designed to put more power directly into your hands as a traveler.
So, starting July 1st, 2025, the EU is rolling out something called a flight emissions label. Okay, here's how it works. Step 1, it gives you real, reliable data on a specific flight's emissions. Step 2, that info pops up right there when you're booking your ticket. And step 3, it lets you actually compare and choose flights based on their real impact, which hopefully rewards the airlines that are flying more efficiently. But
There's always a catch, isn't there? And this one affects one of the biggest groups of flyers out there: businesses.
so here's the problem. A company could use this new label, do the right thing, and book a greener flight. But when it comes time for that company to file its official carbon report, that report might just use some generic standardized emissions data, totally ignoring the smarter choice they made. And if there's no way to prove you did the right thing, the financial incentive to do it just disappears. It's a huge flaw. So, after going through all of that, the tech, the economics, the policy, what can we actually do? Let's try and boil this all down into a clearer plan of action. Let's break this down into what you can do right now, in the next few years, and for the long haul. So today, the most effective actions are still to fly a bit less when you can, pick more efficient planes, apps like Skyscanner can help with that, and offset 100% of your emissions with a high-quality program. Looking ahead, in the midterm, you can start using tools like that new EU label to make informed choices. And crucially, we need to push for better corporate reporting to close that loophole we talked about. And then long-term, it's all about supporting the policies that will build that green hydrogen future while remembering that SAFs are the absolutely essential bridge that's going to get us there. So ultimately, it seems pretty clear that the real choice we have isn't a simple yes or no on flying. It's just too woven into the fabric of our world. The real choice is about how we all manage this incredible, complicated, but totally necessary transformation. The real question is, what role are you going to play in it? Thanks for watching The Explainer.